Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. Warhammer Community did a little sneak peek yesterday of the upcoming Piety and Pain box set, which is going up for pre-order on the 20th of March, and this features the forces of the Sisters of Battle up against the Drukhari, led by none other than Lelith Hesperax herself. Now, we had seen both the new models they feature in the article during the Christmas previews, so they aren't new to us, but we do now have a little tease at what kind of abilities and stats they will be bringing to the table. So let's just take a quick look and see what we have to look forward to. First up, we have Palatine Erica Luminous. Now, this is a new title, the Palatine, and it basically acts as a lieutenant in much the same way that the Marine ones do. Her stat line is pretty standard for a sister, with an HQ level ballistic and weapon skill of 2+, strength toughness of 3, 4 wounds, 3 attacks and a 3-up save. So, I mean, there's nothing too out of the ordinary there. She's still relatively fragile at toughness 3 with only 4 wounds, but I mean, kind of like the Marine Lieutenant, the main reason you'll be bringing this HQ is for the buff she brings, and again, much like the Space Marine Lieutenant, she brings a buff to your unit's wound rolls. Her Fury of the Righteous ability states that you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly order units within 6 inches of this model. This is worded ever so slightly differently to the Space Marine one, which you can see on your screen now, and although the basic outcome is the same, the big difference is that it doesn't state it only affects core units, just order units. So does this mean that the Sisters version will be slightly more encompassing, or does it simply mean that the Sisters won't even have the core keyword? I kind of think that it will end up being the former. I genuinely, personally, think that the core keyword has been a fantastic addition from Games Workshop to help some of the really unexpected and unpleasant combinations be reined in a bit. Things that could be possible before via a mixture of warlord traits, relics, and stratagems, all stacking up together in various ways in which can very easily spiral out of control. The core keyword does have definitely help to sort of limit that to a degree. So it is interesting, I think, that it doesn't specify core. I don't know off the top of my head whether Sisters have any quote unquote Death Star style units that really will be able to abuse this kind of interaction, without core being specified. But perhaps also this was an early write-up of the unit datasheet and core will be added when the Sisters Codex does eventually come out. Or, perhaps they do just genuinely want to let the Palatine buff affect any order unit within range, without the core limitation. Maybe they think that will be something that the Sisters need to help keep them balanced and to keep them playable. I am very excited to find out, and I think overall it is a pretty cool model. Most of the Sisters range has been a hit in my book, so I'm looking forward to seeing some Palatines on the tabletop and helping to buff those bolters and those flamers and those melters even more. Next up, we have what is quite possibly the most exciting part of the article, which is a sneak peek at the rules for Lelith herself. As always, she is an absolute close combat monster and has the potential for an unbelievable number of attacks. Her stat line is again what you would come to expect for a character of her caliber, with movement 8, weapon and ballistic skill 2+, strength toughness of 3, 5 wounds, 7 attacks, and a 6-up save. It is a relatively solid stat line in terms of the damage output, and whilst her survivability may at first seem pretty pathetic, with, toughness 3 and a 6-up save, you do have to remember that as it stands right now, she does have that 3-up invulnerable. I will say, however, that with Games Workshop seemingly keen to move away from 3-up invuns, I personally think that that may end up dropping to a 4-up, but perhaps it will gain some other benefit to help counter that and to balance that, maybe some kind of innate -1 to hit, just to help show how fast and agile she is to make up for the loss of the 3-up. I think that is honestly quite likely, because I genuinely don't think she will keep her 3-up invulnerables. They really are trying to push the max invuln to a 4-up, I think, based on what we've seen so far. Her weapons also seem to have changed somewhat. As you can see, she simply has Lelith's blades now, which are +1 strength, -3 AP and 1 damage, with unmodified 6s to hit, causing an extra hit. At the moment, she has her penetrating blades, which are strength user, -4 AP and 1 damage, and she gets an additional attack with them. So compared to her old profile, her new stat line has more attacks even with the extra attack from the current weapons, not even counting the extra ones you may get for the sixes to hit. But there is a big thing, in my opinion, which is that currently she can swap one of her blades for an impaler, which gives her a weapon which swings at strength user -1 AP, but a flat 2 damage. And obviously with the game the way it is now, 2 damage can potentially be a very, very, very useful thing to have. So I personally do hope that she can still choose to swap out for an impaler, or there is some way to make her attacks do 2 damage. At the moment, even if you rolled absolutely perfectly and got 6s to hit with all 7 of her attacks, she would still only do about 5 wounds, killing roughly 2.5 Marines, which, let's be honest, isn't exactly spectacular. Now, before you get all doom and gloom about that, it is worth mentioning one of her other abilities that they show off, which is Natural Perfection. This has also changed quite significantly. At the moment, it allows you to choose one of Lelith's characteristics at the start of each battle round and improve it by 1, so you can bump her strength to 4, or give her an extra attack, or improve her toughness. It is somewhat useful and kind of lets you tailor her a little bit depending on what you're fighting, but I personally think the new version is much, much better. Now, Natural Perfection allows you to choose one of 2 effects in your command phase. You can either give her the ability to charge even after falling back or advancing, helping her to get into combat that much quicker, or if she is already in combat, or you're only a few inches away so you're not going to need to advance in your movement phase, you can give her Gory Spectacle, which means that if you kill any enemy models in the fight phase this turn, you can fight again, which means that she can make 14 attacks in a round with 6s causing extra hits for a grand total of potentially 28 attacks in a single turn. Now, obviously, that is extremely unlikely to happen, and one of my friends said that if that did happen, you may as well just pack up your dice because clearly your opponent has blessed dice. But more importantly, she has to survive the fight phase because these extra attacks are done at the end of the phase. But it does, in theory, mean that you can do a huge amount of damage to an enemy unit, and if you choose your targets wisely, really cripple a big enemy squad. We will have to wait and see if the other abilities that Lelith has have changed at all. Like I said, I'm pretty sure her 3-up invuln will be dropping to a 4-up, but whether things like a League Apart or Brides of Death have changed, we obviously won't know until a bit closer to the Codex release. I think that overall, Lelith seems reasonably good, and if she stays at around the 90-point price tag she is at the moment, she has definite potential. I think you will need to be careful, that as with other Drukhari units, you have to be very careful about what you send her into combat with and who you send her into combat with. To me, she seems much less suited to going after things like Terminators or Bikers, which, with the number of attacks and the fact that she's a melee character, you may think, oh, I'll send her against the elite infantry and she'll just chew through those. But I think that with their 3 wounds and the invulnerable saves or the toughness 5 that those units have, it really is going to be hard work for Lelith to get those wounds through. And then even when they do, if there's no way to bump them up from damage 1, it's going to take 3 unsaved wounds to kill a single Terminator or a Bike. So I really don't think it is the most effective use of her attacks. Where I think Lelith will really, really shine is going through large hordes of enemies, things like Orc Boys or Guardsmen or Tyranid Gaunts or even Necron Warriors, who will all pretty much just melt under her sheer number of strength for -3 AP attacks. And the fact that they are 1 damage, isn't doing you any disservice because all of these things are 1 wound. You really want her going after large units of 1 wound infantry where her number of attacks can just really benefit her and just kill 1 with every unsaved wound. I think in a single fight phase, with average rolling, she puts down a good 7 or 8 Necron Warriors, which is really, really impressive. And against toughness 3 enemies like Guardsmen or Gaunts, that's going to be even more. So I think I would say, just as a kind of wrapping up about what they've shown so far, and as I said, obviously this isn't all of her rules. There may be things that mean she is better at going against tougher infantry like Terminators or Bikers, but based on just what we've seen at the moment, I would say she is good at what she does. But unfortunately, what she does is not really what the gaming meta has come to at the moment, with lots of multiple wound infantry and the more survivable, objective holding units. She isn't great at taking those out, but if you're against an opponent that has swarms of Tyranid Gaunts or whatever, she will do a lot of work throughout that game. So that is it for today. Let me know in the comments what you think of both the Palatine and of Lelith. Do you think that any of her other rules will change? And also, how useful do you see her being on the tabletop? As always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer videos from me. But until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.